If someone had told me that I'd end up marrying Ava Bennett, the woman who once humiliated me in front of an entire boardroom, I would have laughed in their face. Ava was everything I couldn't stand: arrogant, sharp-tongued, and infuriatingly perfect. The kind of woman who walked into a room and somehow made everyone else fade into the wallpaper. And I hated that she knew it. We worked for the same multinational tech company in London, me, an ambitious marketing strategist, her, the daughter of one of the company's investors. Our paths crossed more often than I'd have liked, and every meeting turned into a silent battlefield. I'd pitch an idea, and she'd tear it down with that smug little smirk. It started 2 years ago when I presented a campaign proposal. She'd interrupted halfway, saying, "It's cute, but we're not running a charity for creativity." The laughter in the room burned my ears. From that day, I swore I'd never let her have power over me again. But fate, it seems, has a cruel sense of humor. My family, who had always been desperate to see me settled, arranged a potential marriage meeting for me. I agreed only to calm my mother down. "Just meet her," she'd said, voice trembling with hope. I rolled my eyes and told her I'd do it, but I didn't expect anything from it. When I walked into the restaurant that day, every breath left my lungs. Sitting there, legs crossed and looking like she owned the place, was none other than Ava Bennett. She looked up slowly, her eyes widening in recognition. "You've got to be kidding me," she said flatly. "Oh, trust me," I replied, sinking into the seat opposite her. "If I'd known it was you, I would have stayed home." For a moment, we just stared at each other, a storm of disbelief hanging between us. The waiter approached nervously, sensing the tension. Ava's tone turned falsely polite as she said, "I suppose our parents think it's fate." "Or punishment," I muttered. Dinner was torture. Every polite question dripped with sarcasm, every compliment laced with venom. Yet beneath the irritation, I couldn't ignore something else, something I didn't want to name. The way her eyes softened when she laughed. The curve of her lips when she teased me. When the evening ended, Ava stood and said, "Well, this was memorable." I wanted to snap back, but all I managed was, "Don't get used to it." She smirked. "Who says I need to?" But as I walked away that night, something inside me felt unsettled. I'd spent years hating Ava Bennett. And now, fate had tied our names together. My mother was over the moon when I told her I'd met Ava. "She's lovely, isn't she?" she gushed. "Such grace, such confidence." "Her family is wonderful, too." "Lovely? Confidence?" I wanted to laugh. Ava was a walking thunderstorm with heels that could stab a soul. But my mother wouldn't let it go. "You don't have to decide right away," she said, clasping my hands. "Just give it a chance." I didn't want to break her heart. And Ava, being Ava, seemed equally cornered. Her father was an old friend of my dad's, and apparently, this arrangement was some grand symbol of uniting business ties. 2 families, 2 legacies, and 2 women who couldn't stand each other. We agreed to meet again. Out of obligation, not affection. At least that's what I told myself. Our second meeting was at a rooftop cafe overlooking the city. The view was breathtaking, and Ava, annoyingly, looked like she belonged to it. She wore a tailored black coat, her hair loose, framing her sharp jawline. So, she began, sipping her espresso. "Our parents are serious about this." Tragically, I muttered. Her lips twitched. "I suppose we could just tell them it's a bad idea." I already tried. My mother nearly fainted. "Mine would probably disown me," Ava said dryly, and for the first time, there was a crack in her perfect composure. Something tired, almost human. We sat in silence for a while, the wind brushing between us. Then she said, "Maybe we should at least pretend to get along." "For appearances." "Pretend," I repeated, trying to sound indifferent. "Right. I can manage that." But pretending was harder than I expected. We started spending time together, family dinners, charity events, even a weekend trip arranged by our parents. Every time, Ava managed to get under my skin. She'd tease me, challenge me, make me want to scream, and somehow, make me want to keep looking at her. Once, during a formal dinner, she leaned close and whispered, "Smile, Liza. People are watching." "I'm smiling on the inside," I said through gritted teeth. She laughed softly, the sound like warm honey. You're terrible at pretending. That night, as I watched her laugh and mingle effortlessly, something shifted. I caught myself studying the way she moved, the way her confidence wasn't arrogance, it was armor. Later, when we walked out into the cold night air, she surprised me by saying quietly, "You know, you're not as insufferable as I thought." I stared at her. That's your idea of a compliment? Take it or leave it. And before I could reply, she brushed past me, her perfume lingering like an unspoken dare. I should have hated her more. Instead, I couldn't stop thinking about her. That night, lying in bed, I scrolled through my phone and paused on a photo from the event. Me and Ava, standing side by side, smiling for the camera. For the first time, our smiles looked real. The engagement was set for the end of the month. I told myself it was just another formality, a deal sealed between two stubborn families. But deep down, I knew things were spiraling beyond my control. Ava and I had fallen into a strange rhythm. We bickered, teased, and challenged each other at every turn, yet there was a quiet understanding beneath it all. She'd show up to pick me up for events, half smiling like she wasn't sure if she wanted to fight or flirt. The night before the engagement, I stood in front of the mirror, trying on the silver dress my mother insisted I wear. It clung to me like silk and nerves. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Ava. Ava, try not to glare too hard tomorrow. We're supposed to look in love. Liza, I'll do my best not to punch you in front of the guests. Ava, that's the spirit. I couldn't help smiling. God, I hated that she could make me laugh so easily now. The next evening, the ballroom shimmered with gold lights and the faint sound of violins. I arrived late on purpose and instantly regretted it when I saw her. Ava stood across the room, wearing a deep emerald gown that made her eyes look dangerous. Every conversation seemed to bend around her. When she noticed me, her lips curved into that maddening smirk. You clean up well, she said, walking over. So do you, I admitted before I could stop myself. The ceremony began, cameras flashing, people clapping. My heart pounded as our parents exchanged rings between us. When Ava slid the diamond band onto my finger, her touch lingered a second too long. The crowd cheered. My mother teared up. And me? I just tried to breathe. Later, during the champagne toast, Ava leaned close and whispered, "You're trembling." I'm not. You are. Her voice softened. Relax, Liza. It's just an engagement. Just an engagement. Then why did her words sound like a promise? As the night went on, she surprised me again. She danced with me slow, careful, her hand resting on my waist. The world around us blurred. Her perfume, the warmth of her palm, the faint pressure of her fingers, it was intoxicating. When the song ended, I stepped back, breathless. You're not supposed to be good at this, I murmured. Maybe I'm full of surprises, she said, smiling that dangerous smile. And maybe I wanted to find out every single one. But I didn't dare say it. After the party, as we walked out under the glittering lights of London, Ava turned to me and said, "You know, this might not be the worst thing in the world." I looked at her confused. You mean us? She hesitated, then smirked. Don't push your luck. Still, as we said goodnight, something inside me whispered that luck had nothing to do with it. After the engagement, our parents decided it would be wise for Ava and me to spend more time together before the wedding. Their brilliant idea? Move in together for a few months. I nearly choked when my mother told me. In the same apartment? I asked. She nodded innocently. You'll bond. Bond. Right. If by bond she meant get on each other's nerves until one of us snapped, then sure. Ava didn't seem thrilled either, though she hid it better. When we arrived at the penthouse our families had rented for us, glass walls, city view, way too romantic for comfort, she dropped her bags and said, "Well, this should be fun." Her sarcasm mirrored mine perfectly. If your definition of fun is murder. The first week was chaos. She left her coffee cups everywhere, I hogged the bathroom, and we argued about everything from thermostat settings to music volume. But somehow, amidst the bickering, small moments started sneaking in. Like the night I found her sitting on the balcony, laptop open, rain reflecting in her eyes. She looked vulnerable. You ever stop working? I asked, leaning against the doorframe. Not really, she said without looking up. It's easier than thinking. Something in her tone made me pause. For the first time, I didn't have a comeback. Instead, I sat beside her. The rain hissed softly against the glass. Thinking about what? I asked quietly. She turned her head, eyes meeting mine. About how I always ruin things I care about. The honesty in her voice hit me harder than I expected. You didn't ruin this, I whispered. A small smile curved her lips. Not yet. From that night, something shifted. We started talking, not as rivals, but as two women trying to understand each other. She told me about the pressure of being her father's heir, of living up to impossible expectations. I told her about the fear of never being enough, of constantly being compared to people who fit molds I never could. Our arguments softened into teasing. Our silences grew comfortable. Then came the night that changed everything. We'd ordered takeout after a long day of pretending to be a perfect couple for the press. I spilled wine on my shirt and groaned. Great. Red stain on white silk. Ava stood, walked over, and without a word, started dabbing at the spot with a napkin. Her face was inches from mine. I could smell her perfume, jasmine and danger. You're terrible at staying clean, she murmured. And you're terrible at keeping distance, I shot back, though my voice came out softer than I meant. Her hand froze. For a second, neither of us moved. Then her gaze dropped to my lips. The air between us changed a heavy electric. Liza, she breathed. And then she kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, defiant, like years of tension had finally found a release. When she pulled away, her voice was unsteady. That didn't happen. Right, I whispered. Didn't happen. But the way my heart raced told me we both knew it did. We didn't talk about the kiss. Not that night, not the next morning, not the entire week that followed. But silence can be louder than words. Every glance, every brush of skin, every moment in the same room felt different now, charged, dangerous. I'd catch her watching me when she thought I wasn't looking. And when our eyes met, neither of us knew where to look next. I told myself it was just confusion. That this heat between us was temporary, born out of proximity and pressure. But deep down, I knew better. Then came the charity gala. The night everything exploded. We were supposed to show up as the perfect couple, smiling and hand in hand for the cameras. Ava looked breathtaking in a crimson dress, her confidence masking something restless beneath the surface. Throughout the night, I played my part, smiling, posing, pretending everything was fine. But it wasn't. Not when every time she touched my back or leaned close to whisper, my pulse went wild. Halfway through the evening, she disappeared. I found her outside, on the terrace, staring out over the city lights. The cold air turned her breath into clouds. You're running away, I said, stepping closer. She didn't turn around. Maybe I am. Why? Because if I stay, I'll do something stupid again. My heart clenched. Like kiss me. Her shoulders tensed. Exactly like that. I exhaled, moving until I stood beside her. Maybe that wasn't stupid. She finally turned, eyes fierce and vulnerable all at once. You don't know what you're saying. I think I do. No, she said, her voice breaking. You hate me, Liza. You've always hated me. Maybe I don't, I whispered. That silenced her. For the first time, Ava Bennett looked lost. Then, before I could overthink it, I reached up and touched her face. You drive me insane, I said softly. You make me angry, you make me feel alive, and I can't stop thinking about you. Her breath hitched. Liza. I didn't let her finish. I kissed her. This time, she didn't resist. The city around us blurred into lights and noise, but none of it mattered. It was raw and real, everything we'd tried to deny. When we finally broke apart, she pressed her forehead to mine. This can't work, she whispered. Why not? Because people expect us to be something we're not. Because we started as enemies. Then let's change the ending, I said. She closed her eyes. You make it sound so easy. Maybe it's supposed to be. A tear slid down her cheek, and I brushed it away. Ava, I don't want to pretend anymore. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she whispered, neither do I. That night, when we returned home, there was no tension left between us, only truth. We didn't need words. The walls between us had finally crumbled. And somewhere between love and war, we'd found peace. The morning after that night felt different. The air was quieter, softer, as if the world itself knew something had changed. Ava made coffee, barefoot, her hair falling messily over her shoulders. She didn't look like the perfectly poised woman I'd always known. She looked real. And for the first time, I realized I didn't just love her confidence or her fire. I loved her completely. We didn't need to say it out loud. Every glance, every touch said enough. But reality wasn't kind enough to let us live in that bubble for long. That evening, our families came over for dinner, excited, buzzing, already discussing wedding plans. My mother brought fabric samples. Her father talked about venues and guest lists. Ava and I sat in silence, exchanging uneasy looks. When her father said, "We'll make this the event of the year," Ava suddenly stood up. "I don't care about the event," she said, voice trembling but steady. "I care about us." Everyone fell silent. Her mother frowned. "What do you mean?" Ava looked at me. "We didn't plan this marriage. It was decided for us. But somewhere along the way, we fell for each other. Not because of your arrangement. Because we chose to." My heart thudded painfully in my chest. I rose beside her, taking her hand. "We're not your business merger. We're two people who found something real in a mess that was never supposed to work." Her father looked torn between shock and pride. "So, what are you saying?" Ava met his gaze, chin lifted. "We'll get married. But on our own terms." My mother looked at me, eyes glistening. "And you're sure, Liza?" I smiled through the nerves. I've never been sure of anything. The room stayed still for a long moment before her father sighed, half smiling. "Well, at least you both found love. That's rare enough." After they left, Ava exhaled deeply and sank into the couch. "I can't believe we just did that." I laughed, sitting beside her. "You were incredible." She looked at me, that familiar spark dancing in her eyes. "You're stuck with me now." "I've been stuck since the day you insulted my presentation," I teased. She grinned. "You're never letting that go, are you?" "Not a chance." We both laughed, and for the first time, it wasn't out of sarcasm or pride. It was pure, effortless joy. Months later, when we finally stood at the altar in a small garden surrounded by only close friends and family, I realized how strange life was. The woman I once swore off, the one who infuriated me beyond reason, was now the person I couldn't imagine breathing without. When it was my turn to say my vows, I smiled through tears. I used to think love was supposed to be simple. But then I met you, and you made everything complicated and somehow perfect. You taught me that even enemies can fall in love if they're brave enough to try. Ava squeezed my hands and whispered, "Always." When we kissed, it wasn't just a promise. It was peace after war.